Stealing the Spotlight is a winter-themed HTF episode that stars Lumpy, Pop, and Cub. It centers on a one-sided rivalry between these characters, as Lumpy tries to put up as much lights as possible to one-up Pop, while Pop is more concerned with dealing with Cub. This episode is rather special, as it is part of the Happy Tree Friends Winter Break, a special half-hour marathon that aired on the MTV2 network on December 24, 2000, and later, on G4 on December 1, 2005. The marathon featured multiple Christmas and winter-themed episodes. This included Stealing the Spotlight, Tongue Twister Trouble, Out on a Limb, Snow What? That's What, Ski-Ya, Wouldn't Wanna Be Ya, A Class Act, and 6 Kringles that had been released at the time. For a summary of this episode, according to the Giggles Guide, once again, Lumpy is trying hard to be the best, but he just can't get it right. This episode opened our very first television special shown on MTV International and MTV2, Happy Tree Friends Winter Break. It was an exciting time for our team, and we plan to do more specials for television in 2005. But let's take a deeper look into the episode. This episode, like From A to Zoo, has a noticeable animation bump and is noticeably longer than your usual Happy Tree Friends episode. In fact, it's only 2 minutes shorter than a segment of the TV series. Stealing the Spotlight stars Pop and Cub, but it's a bit unique in that it doesn't exclusively follow these two. This is the first Pop and Cub episode to feature multiple characters aside from Cub. In fact, it is the first episode to prominently feature a different character alongside them. While Lumpy had previously appeared in Pop and Cub's debut and Crow-Marmot made this brief appearance in another short about them, these were cameo appearances that were so minor that neither character was even introduced in the opening credits. For this reason, this episode feels a lot less isolated compared to earlier Pop and Cub episodes. Normally, you only really focus on Pop and Cub and nobody else. Granted, in Stealing the Spotlight, Pop and Cub don't really interact with anyone else but each other anyway, although this is probably the first time they are at least acknowledged by other members of the main cast. In this episode, Pop and Cub are setting up Christmas decorations outside their house. Lumpy sees Pop and Cub's decorations and immediately gets jealous, so he starts decorating his own place to one-up Pop. Now, for most of the episode, we focus mainly on Pop and Cub. While Lumpy is still a major character, he isn't as in focus as you'd expect him to be. I know, very ironic. Instead, the episode is about Pop being the best father ever. Just kidding. If you ever think Pop was ever a good father, you should probably watch this episode because, oh boy. The first thing he does is knock Cub over with a ladder, causing Cub's tooth to fall out. He tries to fix it by hammering it back in, and not even in the right spot. He literally jams it through Cub's lip. We cut back to Lumpy setting up his Christmas lights. He leaves a cord of Christmas lights on the ground, to which Nutty comes by and mistakes the lights for candy. He eats the lights, only to have his guts ripped out when Lumpy pulls on the cord that's connected to the lights. We cut back to Pop, hammering nails into his roof, with a bucket of nails next to him. The bucket then falls onto Cub's head, and Pop has to remove the nails from Cub's head. When he couldn't remove one nail, he hammers it deeper into Cub's head. Yeah, Pop is just not a good father. I know Pop doesn't mean to harm Cub, but seriously, he actually sucks at parenting. Y'all think the Stotches are bad. Pop is just atrocious. It only gets worse from here, since in his next starring role, And the Kitchen Sink, he's even worse. But I'm getting ahead of myself. How does the episode end? Well, Pop sets up his Christmas lights, which becomes a spectacle among the other Happy Tree Friends. Lumpy, upon seeing this, shock of all shocks, becomes jealous and starts plotting. Lumpy upgrades his Christmas lights by putting all sorts of objects that can create light, including his own car, on his trailer. He then flips the switch to his Christmas lights and literally lights up the entire planet. I'm not kidding. He literally causes several tree friends to catch fire or explode and blows up the moon. Even the mole is shielding his eyes. Lumpy finally turns off the switch and takes off his goggles, to which his eyes then explodes. Also, the mole's thumb is on fire. Of course he, of all characters, would survive something like this. We reached the end of the episode. The moral says, always look on the bright side of life. This episode actually has a blurb version that was released on December 26, 2010. In this version, Truffles actually makes 2 cameo appearances. This episode has a lot to take in. I really love this episode's animation, and it's really funny. Pop being a horrible dad is comical. In general, this episode laid the groundwork for future Pop episodes, where he is, in my opinion, an even funnier version of his character. The deaths are also all great. The gag with Lumpy's eyes bursting and the mole's thumb on fire are comedy gold. I give this episode 5 Christmas lights.